don't think any citizens present, so I'm going to skip that part. And we'll just move right into the agenda items. The first item on our agenda is to review the 2023-2024 proposed millage rolled back rate calculation and the 2023-2024 tentative budget for all funds. Dr. Legutko? Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Let me give you guys an update. We've had some final adjustments to the prior year's 2022-2023 expenditures that have impacted the 2023-2024 proposed final budget and necessitated a need to revise some of the items and attachments on this agenda. The revisions are as follows. Item number 1, review the 2023-2024 final millage rolled back rate calculation and the 2023-2024 budget for all funds. This item reflects corrected total under financial impact. Item number 2, the public hearing for comments on the 2023-2024 budget and millages. Item reflects corrected total under financial impact. Item number 8, adopt the budget all funds for 2023-2024. This item also reflects the corrected total under recommendations and attachments. The budget summary report and ESE 139 have been revised. Item number 10, the resolution 24-04 adopting the 2023-2024 final budget. This item values in the table under description corrected, and an attachment for resolution 24-04 has been revised to reflect the correct total as well. That was a mouthful. Dr. Legutko.
Okay, can you hear me? Is it on? Yes, okay. All right. All right. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, fellow board members. I am here to discuss the 23-24 final budget and, of course, the adoption of the millage rates. Pretty much, as you know, the last couple of months, we did go over a tentative budget. And remember this document, so you do have this. Basically, the handout that you have, you can see how skinny it is. It is a Reader's Digest version of this document. Okay, so we're going to get started. Okay, as always, I would like to recognize our board members, as you can see. And, of course, our superintendent. Oh, he's changed. Look at that. All right, so today's meeting is primarily to discuss and approve the final budget. And, of course, I say final, but it's really not final. As you know, my famous words are, it is a fluid document and it changes constantly. I can guarantee you what you're seeing today is probably going to change by tomorrow. So, but as you can see my little arrows, that's where we are in the process of approving, going through the truth and millage process that we do every year in order to adopt the millage rates and to identify the amount of dollars that we need to generate to participate in the FEFP, to generate the state dollars. Okay. Oh, oops, this is sensitive. You recall this document. This really is a historical view of all our millage rates for the past 20 years. And you can see, you know, our millage rates have actually gone down over the past several years, but our values have gone up. So, you know, our community members ask, okay, why is my taxes going up? It's not because of the increase of the millage rates. It's because of the value of the property. So, so I wanted to point that out to everyone so that you can, you know, when the question is asked, you can tell them it's not the millage rates, it's actually the value of the property. And of course, it's continually going up. Okay. This is the proposed millage rates that were advertised in the newspaper. Of course, we had the public hearing. This is another public hearing to if there are any folks in the audience, to discuss these rates or not change, but just to discuss them. They can't change them. Again, the required local effort is 3.156. It will generate approximately $60,520,294. Basic discretionary, the .748, generate 14,343,847. Capital outlay, 1.50, will generate 28,764,398. Our additional voted millage, the 1.00, will generate approximately 19,176,265. The total millage is 6.404, generating a total of approximately 122,804,804. Typically, the district is required to budget at least 96% of those funds. And I will tell you, again, everything is estimated. Not everyone pays their taxes on time. So therefore, the reason for budgeting only 96% of those funds. And again, the current total proposed millage rates to be levied will exceed the rollback rate by 12.10%. It's significantly higher this year because, again, the property values just skyrocketed this year. And you all can see the difference in this side here, where you can see the difference between what last year's property values were, $16 billion, as opposed to $19 billion. So it went up by $3 billion. That's significant. Usually the change is about $1.5 billion annually that I have noticed over the last several years, except for this year where it's so significant. So again, that's why the rollback rate is such a high number. So let me go back. I do have to say this. What is the rollback rate? It is the millage rate for the new year, which would produce the same level of ad valorem tax revenue as was levied in the prior year. Of course, there are some adjustments that do incur if you're doing the calculation. It's a very detailed, really complicated calculation. But again, once you do that calculation, and it's done by the TRIM office, the Department of Revenue, and the calculation comes out to where it is about 12.10%. Okay. You've seen this slide where it talks about the comparison of last year's millage rates to this year's millage rate, and of course the values of our property here in Clay County. And if we were to levy the same amount of, if the property values didn't change, but we levied the millage rates, the taxpayer would have experienced a savings of $2.63 this year. It's a savings, but again, your property values have gone up, so therefore your taxes did go up. All right. All right, so if you will recall, this is the budget that was presented to you at the tentative hearing. And you'll see, and the details of it was in this detail presentation. And of course, if there's any questions related to any line items related to this budget, please call me, show up at my office anytime, and I will be happy to explain all the numbers to you in detail. But this was the original budget that we took to the board, to you all, I'm sorry. And as you can see, the value, the bottom line is $589,848,650, total budget. So there are changes within the general, the special revenue, debt service, and capital projects. This is what the budget looks like now. There were lots of changes that happened, and I'll go into what those changes are. But the new budget is now $601,458,766. So, and again, if you need details related to the function and object codes, please call me. I'll be happy to explain the details to you. All right. Yeah. Okay. Analysis of our revenue. For this year, you can see total revenue for the state, for the district, that includes federal, local, and state, is $508,408,878. That matches with the detailed summary budget document. And then I'm going to concentrate on just the general fund revenue because that is our operating budget, and it's really where all of our activities truly happens as far as expenditures. So the slideshow will really represent just general fund at this point.
Dr. Legatko, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have a question.
Sure.
Are these percentages typical? I feel like, especially in the total funds, that the local percentage is much higher than it normally is.
Yes, it really is, and the reason being is that the local is the taxes
Right.
for this year, so that has gone up significantly.
But I would think it would balance out with the funding from the state. Where are we receiving less? Obviously, we are.
We're
in
not
proportion.
receiving less from the state, but the local, because of our taxes, that has gone up more.
But
So,
I mean, proportionally. I realize we're not receiving less from the state, but proportionally, I feel like it used to be in the 20%
yes, you are
range.
correct. It seems like, and I don't know if you've heard this, where, the state always, they're trying to, I don't know, they've told me that they're trying to show that the state is pretty much giving us more dollars towards our operations. But in reality, when you look at the taxes that are going up locally,
Right.
it's actually creeping back up
Correct.
to where the state is giving us less.
Correct.
And the county is having to place more dollars in there.
Exactly. So I just wanted to note that trend.
Yes.
That we talk to the legislature frequently about how we need more funding,
Exactly.
and we're always met with the response that we have local taxing authority. So there's been a lot of chatter about that, and I think it's important that we address it. That I feel like this is imbalanced considering what we've had in years past, and while I appreciate our property values going up, it's a shame to see that that is not reflected in the state's contribution as well.
Exactly, and that's where you're seeing that problem, where the local is having to put more dollars in, hence the increase in taxes. And I mean, it is the legislature, so we've got to speak with them.
Ratio-wise, do they adjust their contribution to the local level based on the tax base in
Yes.
the county? They do.
There's a funding formula. There's certain parts of the fund, and this includes all the different pockets of that FEFP. So, yes, so there is some adjustments that's done there. The point is that based on the percentages, some may go up, some may go down. And of course, as we spoke about the FEFP this year, a lot of the dollars went into the BSA, which is the base student allocation. So they took away the categoricals to where, it's based on the BSA, not a certain calculation for that specific categorical. Does that make sense?
So I guess my curiosity is, historically in districts, I'm going to say like St. Johns County with oceanfront property, where their tax base is higher.
Yes.
Is this more what they see on a regular basis?
Pretty
Because
much. If you look at, and I was talking about St. John's. I haven't looked at theirs recently, but if you look at Key West, their property tax, their local contribution, I would say, is about 85%.
Holy moly. Okay.
Versus the state contribution, which
So-
is the difference.
I feel like that is very important for our local community to be aware of,
Yes.
and for this board to be cognizant of. As our tax base here grows,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to get less funding from the state. That's kind of how it's built into the formula. So
Correct.
your local taxpayers end up bearing most of the cost of educating the kids here.
Yes, that is correct.
Thanks, Dr. Legatko. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Perfect. Again, so you can see the difference in the revenue. General fund, of course, the local is 26%, and the state level is 72% there. But that's just the general revenue side of it. This, again, total revenue is all funds. Okay. Here is just a pictorial view of our general fund, the expenditures by function. And the purpose of this is really to reflect that you can see our dollars. We are in the business of schools, educating our students. A lot of our dollars are targeted towards our instructional side of the operation. As you can see, 73.2% of our dollars are targeted towards the instructional side of the operation, more so than the other parts of it. And in our expenditures, you can see where about 75% is targeted for salaries and benefits, and the rest is the purchase services, energy. You know, if you look at the budget, summary budget document, that is where these numbers are coming from. Okay. Okay. All right. So this is an overall picture of what happened from when I presented to you the tentative budget to where we are now, the final budget. And again, please, this document, do not hold me to these numbers. I will tell you, today I can guarantee that was the number as of 9/6. Right now, all of this has changed. We have had federal grants come in, we have had modifications to the general fund, we've had, you know, other things that have happened. So it's a fluid document, it continues to change daily, 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 until, not you, Mr. Daly, but you know, at the end of the year, I can guarantee you, even when you approved my AFR at the last board meeting, I can guarantee you between now and when the audit report is presented to you, there could be changes there. And we have yet to receive the final calculation from the Department of Education. So I don't really know how close I am to the dollars that I generated from the FTE that we generated for last year. So again, it's a crystal ball. So, all right, so with this being said, here's the general fund. Our initial budget was $419,281,591. We ended up with $412,952,581. Yes, it did go down, and the reason it went down was because when I did the initial budget, we had a lot of encumbrances. We did not pay all our bills at that point. We were still closing the year. So, as a result of that, more of the expenditures showed up in the prior year. So my roll forward was not as much as what I projected. And of course, that changed fund balance, that changed everything that was presented at the tentative budget. So again, I wrote some of the things there. Our prior year fund balance, when I rolled over, it wasn't as much. Revenues, of course, we paid a lot of, we adjusted our revenue based on certain you know, as we're going through our data file, we try to make sure everything is as accurate as possible. Because again, this document gets transmitted up to the state. And it, you know, they are required that we have certain numbers in certain areas and those types of things. So we made those adjustments. Our encumbrances, we paid out a lot of our encumbrances from last year. So that made our roll forward a lot less than what I thought it would be. So with special revenue, we started off with $64,053,342. We ended up with $84,367,919. The reason being is we had to adjust the final, not the final, but we had to adjust our new grants that came in, such as Title I. When I did the tentative budget, we only used the salaries and benefits that we knew we were paying out of that grant. However, since then, we've received the award notification that tells us this is how much money you are going to get. So based on that, we adjust the budget to increase the revenue to what it's going to be. And that happened with Title I, Title II, IDEA, ESOL, all of those types of grants. In addition to that, we made some adjustments to the CARES funding because, again, we were paying out some of those expenditures from the prior year. Also required is that I am to report the amount of dollars that are in the internal accounts that are sitting at the school. That is a requirement for GASB 84. And it is one of the forms that we have to report. What are the dollars that are sitting in the schools in the internal accounts? So, and that was significant. So, I think it was about, I want to say it was about $8 to $10 million sitting out there. So again, we had to add that to our reports that needs to be sent up to the Department of Education, and I needed to recognize it within our budget. Debt service, 7,119,154. It ended up being 7,510,931. Again, it's all of these are prior year adjustment, CONDS, capital outlay, and debt service. It's a book entry that we are required to report. However, at the time when I did my tentative budget, the DOE had not sent us the journal entries to make. So based on that, from then to now, we made those changes, and of course, it affected our final budget. Capital projects, it went from 99,394, 563 to our final budget to 96,627, 335. And again, it's the same activities that had happened for the general fund. So again, it goes back up and down, up and down. I can tell you, I can do the same chart for you in a week from now, and this whole thing is going to change. So I just want you all to know how fluid this document really is, this budget really. It's not even it's what we deal with every day in my division. So our tentative budget is 589,848, 650. That was advertised. And now the final budget that I'm taking to you today is 601,458, 766. Okay, well, based on all of this, any sort of changes that I had, I made sure and placed it in fund balance. I did not appropriate it. So when I took the fund balance, the tentative budget, the fund balance was a little below 5%. Since then, any changes or anything that happened that I had some extra dollars, I placed it in fund balance because my goal is really to maintain my 5%. I have got to do that. But I know things will happen. We don't know what to expect this year with the scholarship program. So I've got high hopes to project at least the 5%. So, and I knew that would put a smile on Ashley's face.
You know me
Dr.
well,
Gutko.
Dr. Legutko.
Yes.
Dr. Legutko, for
Yes.
this year, it's still unaudited. Could that 4.53 go up at all?
It possibly could, or it could go down, either one. It just depends when the auditors, and they are here now, so once they look through our books and they go through and review all our journal entries and all of our revenues and all of our expenditures, that number could change. And you will know that in the audit report when I do present it to you, which is usually in like January, February, so. Okay, so the next steps, we want to open and close the floor for the public hearing. We want to adopt the final millage and approve the final budget, approve the final resolution 24-3, which is determining revenues and millage levied, approve the final resolution 24-4, adopting the final budget, and then finally transmit the board-approved final, transmit board-approved millage and final budget to the Department of Education. So once this is approved, I am going to hit a button and send it to DOE so they have our documents in place. And that should be it. I thank you for your attention. And I do want to say, did you all notice anything in my PowerPoint presentation?
Was there a hidden Mickey? Did we miss it?
Huh?
I said, was there a hidden Mickey? Did we miss it?
Do you see anything unique about these slides?
What are we missing?
Only maybe a finance person will notice this. I'll tell you, I use green for money in some of these slides. Look at that. You see the difference? I'm proud of that. Look at that, green.
It was very good. I like the green.
I
The
know.
green is very positive.
It's better than
Positive
red.
green.
It is a
Better than
Anyway.
red, no red.
But yes.
But we did miss the song as well. So, you know,
Oops. Yeah. Huh? No, green for money,
Money.
cash.
money.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Legutko. All right, so I will now open the public hearing for comments on the 2023-2024 budget and millages. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. So do I close the public hearing and reopen it in a moment? Okay, so I'll close the public hearing and delay it until after this item. Go ahead, Ms.
Okay.
Ellis. Sorry about that.
All right, good evening, Board, Mr. Daly. I will be very quick. This is to present the final educational facility plan, and I have provided you a copy at each of your seats, as well as a copy of this year's projects and the fund sources that we intend to use for those projects. I know, Ms. Hanson, you had asked at the last workshop what fund sources we had used. So this is what we intend to use during the year. Sometimes these fund sources can change, whether or not we get a grant or we don't have funds available. And that fund source, we kind of, it's fluid. So this. So what else has changed from the tentative? We've updated our projections. We're very conservative with the projections that we put in our report because we don't want to promise projects and then say, oh, wait, we didn't get enough money from the LCIF that we had projected. So they're a little bit lower than what Susan has because, again, we do take it from when that report is pulled. And again, we like to be conservative. The table 3.1.2 is the EFP, and it's on page 28. The highlighted changes are what we have changed from tentative, and they are usually, you can look, we tried to put a notes column in there to say what was different. Either some have been completed since the last time you saw it, budget increases and adjustments. Some of them, we maybe have gotten some bids in that have changed. And then some added projects. We did get some grant money from CTE this year that we're expecting to receive. We've added some of those projects in. Camera projects we've added, and then some of the playgrounds that have been condemned kind of came up between tentative and final, so we added those in there as well. Okay. This is the table from tentative. It's pretty much the same. The only difference is the CTE grant. You can see that we're projected to receive almost $200,000 in there, so we put that at the bottom. And then, again, this is just our capital outlay expenditures, what we pay out of our capital monies. These are our obligations that we pay. We have the debt service, district-wide equipment, casualty insurance, maintenance, we give them funding, district-wide technology, transportation, and I can't read that last one. And the charters, we wanted to show what the charters get from our funding. So that's a little bit new this year. They've always received our Ed First. They're going to receive parts of our LCIF and also of our millage this year. And that's it.
Where is that listed?
At the bottom. At the very bottom of,
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong table. Okay.
oh, I'm sorry.
Can I ask you a question back
Sure.
on the previous table? I know I've had elementary schools reach out to me in the past about replacing playground equipment, and sometimes it falls to their responsibility from internal funds to cover that expense. And then I see here, we do sometimes. So
Well,
what is the qualifying?
so in the past, a lot of times, it was always based on funding. So roofing, HVAC, plumbing, those are our priorities, right? And the PFAs would raise money and purchase playground equipment. Over the years, playground equipment, because of liabilities, the cost has just gotten exorbitant. The schools can't even, I mean, they're saving for 10, 15 years. The people that have donated to these funds don't even get to see the playground. So we've tried to say, okay, look, these are getting really expensive. We're going to try to help these schools out. I mean, they just can't afford it. So if a playground doesn't meet code and is dangerous, we try to help them out. We do like to try to use Ed First money for that, and we try to do 3 or 4 a year right now.
Okay, so they make a request, I guess, through.
Yes, they
okay.
can they can email me, and we can take a look at it and put it on the list if it's not already on there.
Okay. And then if there have been some instances where I've had schools reach out about having help install playground equipment because they've purchased it, but then they need help with the install.
Okay.
Is that something that they would just, I would refer to?
It would be a school-initiated project,
Okay.
and it would still need to be inspected by our building official to make sure it was all done correctly and that it's safe. So we would just have them go through facilities and operations.
Okay, but like an outside company contractor could come in and do the install for them, or?
Yes, I mean, they'd have to be a qualified contractor through the school district,
Okay.
but we can work with the schools on that.
Okay, so that's just something that they would need to work.
Yeah, we
directly
just
with
need to
you.
partner with them and make sure they're not putting it over, where are they locating it? We don't want to cover up any sewer or drainage pipes. We've seen that in the past.
Ms. Ellis, do you
Yes.
have like a rubric that you use? Or how do you determine who gets it first? If that makes sense.
Yes, talking about playgrounds or just
And-
anything? So we,
Well, obviously, anything other than HVAC, roofing, and,
right,
I
we
mean,
do try to evaluate and do worst first. I mean, whoever has, the most dire need, we try to take that into consideration. Sometimes there's more than we can do, and we'll just take the worst one. I mean, it's tough. I mean, we try not to, we're not playing favorites. We do our best to be equitable.
And I'm assuming that the 5-year plan is somewhat of a fluid document as well.
Yes,
So
that's
that
correct.
if, let's say, something becomes worse in the process.
That's correct.
It can move up in the plan. It doesn't, even though it doesn't say year one. It
Absolutely.
may happen in year one based on other needs or
That's
other
correct.
circumstances. Okay,
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
On table 3.1.2,
Okay.
the items that are in red, are these just recent additions?
Those are what have changed since tentative.
Since
So yes, some of
last,
them are
okay.
additions, some of them we found out about playgrounds that were condemned and we had to do a replacement ASAP, so we put it on there between tentative and
what I
final.
thought.
Some
I
of
just wanna
them,
make sure.
some of the funding, we found we needed to have more additional funding, so we just changed some of the monies in those. Tried to put it in the notes, what had changed since tentative.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay? All right, that's it. Good.
All right, thank you, Miss Ellis. Let me grab my agenda out real quick, make sure I don't miss something again. All right, did we have a presentation from Dr. Kemp? I have that on the agenda, but no, that was all, okay. All right, so at this time, I will open the public hearing for comments on the 2023-2024 budget and millages. Would anyone like to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for a motion. I will entertain a motion to adopt the 2023-2024 required local effort millage levy.
I move that the Clay County School Board adopt the 2023-2024 final proposed required local effort millage levy of 3.156 with a proposed amount to be raised of $60,520,294. The RLE millage includes basic RLE of 3.151 and a prior period adjustment millage of 0.005.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion from Ms. Bola and a second from Ms. Skipper. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I will entertain a motion, excuse me, to adopt the 2023-2024 basic discretionary operating millage levy.
My computer's messing up, sorry, okay. I move a motion that the Clay County School Board adopt the 2023-2024 final proposed base discretionary millage of .748 with a proposed amount to be raised of $14,343,847.
I have a motion from Ms. Skipper. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ms. Clark. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Right, the next item is to adopt the 2023-2024 Local Capital Improvement Fund Millage Levy. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the motion that the Clay County School Board adopt the 2023-2024 final proposed capital outlay millage of 1.5 with a proposed amount to be raised of $28,764,398.
I have a motion from Ms. Clark. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Hanson. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda is to adopt the 2023-2024 additional voted operating millage levy. Do I have a motion?
I move that the Clay County School Board adopt the 2023-2024 final proposed voted millage of 1.00 with a proposed amount to be raised of $19,176,265.
I have a motion from Ms. Hanson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ms. Bola. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda is to adopt the 2023-2024 total millage levy. Do I have a motion?
I move that the Clay County School Board adopt the 2023-2024 final proposed total millage, which will equal 6.404 with a total amount to be raised of $122,804,804. The total millage rate to be levied is more than the rollback rate of 12.10%.
I have a motion from Ms. Bola. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Skipper. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is the adoption of the budget all funds for 2023-2024. Do I have a motion?
I move a motion that the Clay County School Board adopt the final budget for the 2023-2024 school year as follows. General operating in the amount of $412,952,581. Special revenue budget in the amount of $84,367,919. Debt service budget in the amount of $7,510,931,000 dollars. Capital outlay budget in the amount of $96,627,335 for a total final budget of $601,458,766.
I have a motion by Ms. Skipper. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ms. Clark. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is the Resolution 24-03, the Florida Department of Education Resolution determining revenues and millages levied. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to move.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Clark. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Hanson. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And last, we have the Resolution 24-04, adopting the 2023-2024 final budget. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
I have a motion from Ms. Hanson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ms. Bola. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And I said that was last, but I was wrong. We've got one more. Last item is to approve the final 2023-2024 through 2027-2028 educational facilities plan. Do I have a motion?
I move approval of the final 2023-2024 to 2027-2028 educational facilities plan.
I have a motion from Ms. Bola. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second from Ms. Skipper. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We have no public comment tonight. Our superintendent is absent. Would Mr. Daly like to add anything? Awesome job, ladies. Thank you, thank you. School board attorney remarks, Mr. Blocker. Nothing from you. School board comments. Anybody have anything for the good of the board?
I have nothing.
Okay. With that, this meeting is adjourned.